Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for refusing to tell my baby's father where I am? I'm 7 months pregnant. I agreed to live with the father for the duration of my pregnancy and for the first year of our son's life. In the beginning things were great because he was very considerate and helpful. However, the longer my pregnancy went on, the more I felt like he was taking over. He kept pushing me to eat only healthy food and had his cook prepare all of my meals, even though I told him I could do it myself. He was pushing me to stick to an exercise routine and hired a yoga teacher to come twice a week. He didn't want me going to crowded places in case I got sick, and he generally treated me like I was so fragile that even carrying 3 books was too much work for me. He even tried to push me to stick to a bedtime. I sucked it up for as long as I did, because whenever I confided in family or friends they would all gush about how thoughtful and kind he was being. I finally reached my breaking point last week when the cook wouldn't let me eat what I wanted and kept telling me he said I needed to eat the food she prepared. I understand she was just trying to do her job, but I was so fed up that I decided to just leave and eat fast food instead. Otherwise I would have yelled at her. It was great, and I decided not to go back to his house, and I've been staying at a hotel since while I look for my own place. Has been freaking out since I left, and at first tried to convince me to come home and then demanded I tell him where I was. I've told him repeatedly I'll tell him once the baby is born, but until then I want to be left alone. My family and our mutual friends have all been asking where I'm to. I know they're only asking for his sake, so I haven't told any of them either. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA, he's viewing you like an incubator chamber, not a person. Make sure the GPS on your phone is always turned off. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. I will do. NTA, I assume that your family is charmed by your baby's father's money. Don't tell them where you are. Your ex seems to be very controlling. Get a lawyer as soon as possible. It's not that. He's friends with my brother and good at charming people, so my family already liked him before this situation. This just reinforced that he was such a great guy in their eyes. You might want to look into covert narcissism. NTA, you need to contact a lawyer as soon as possible. He will try and take the baby from you as soon as it's born. Am I the antagonist for embarrassing my husband at family dinner? We were at my mother-in-law's place for dinner, and while we were talking, mother-in-law took a minute to remind us of her birthday, which will take place next week. My husband looked at me and said, "Oh, no need to get a cake. Op will take care of it." I was taken aback because for one, I work long hours and will be too busy next week and don't even know I will be able to attend. And 2, I never agreed to make the cake, nor I have the time or money for it, since it's probably expected to be fancy. I couldn't just take it when he basically offered my service without consulting me. I looked back at him and said I never agreed to do such thing. Can you tell me why I should do it? You never do anything for my mom. The table went quiet and everybody looked at my husband awkwardly. Given his argumentative nature, it was strange seeing him quiet like that. Once we got into the car, he yelled about how I embarrassed and humiliated him and how I disrespected his mother at the table. I told him he was the one who offered my service, but he said that I should have agreed or showed I was on board initially, then told him my honest opinion at home and in private. We got home and he started sulking, saying he can't even look his family in the face after the childish shit I pulled at their house. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA, if you had shown you were on board, you would be expected to do it. If you brought it up later, he would be asking, if you didn't want to, why did you say you were on board? You were put in an awkward situation and you spoke up for yourself. Does he often put you in these situations? Agreed. She'd be screwed no matter what she did. NTA, he put you on the spot in front of everyone. That's on him. Your response was in front of everyone. He counted on you being quiet, not wanting to make a scene. Too bad for him. People who try to use social conflict to force people to do their will are ours. Am I the antagonist for not going to my friend's wedding? My 10+ year friend 35 male, invited me to his wedding 3 years ago. Because of COVID, it was postponed to this summer. In the meantime they got civil married and had 2 kids. I wasn't particularly thrilled about the wedding. I don't know anybody. It's a 5-hour drive with 3 kids and it lasts a whole weekend, but I wanted to be here because it's socially awkward not to go. Last week, he sent every guest a mail asking who needed babysitter at the wedding for the night. I answered casually that we would not need as we have 3 kids, one of whom is 7-month-old, and that we will have to put the children to bed at 10 or 11 p.m. which didn't seem a big deal to me. He texted me angrily that it was not acceptable not to stay at least until 1 a.m. because he was working so hard to make everything perfect, and that he would prefer me not to come rather than us leaving the dinner early, and that out of 250 guests, I was the only one to dare not caring about the most important day of his life. I told him that we would come if he preferred, and he immediately cancelled my room booking and reimbursed it to me. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. The expectation that you stay out until 1 a.m. is presumptuous. It's his wedding. But you're not a prisoner. Not going seems like a great option. Right. If this groom thinks all 250 guests are staying till 1 a.m. he is delusional. NTA. NTA. And you dodge the cost of a 5-hour drive and a hotel room. I suspect this dude is going to very disillusioned and frustrated when his important day doesn't go as planned. I'm suddenly imagining him like a border collie trying to corral a very wayward flock of sheep. Barum. Am I the antagonist for dyeing the neighbor's puppy's paws blue? My son wanted to make a volcano, so we did. He wanted blue lava, so I added blue food coloring. The neighbors have this adorable little puppy. He looks like a hound. He was running around, and I kept picking him up to steer him away from our volcano. We got everything set up, and I got out my phone to make a video of my son's science experiment. He's 4. Experiment is a tough word. He went up and poured in the baking soda mixture and Mount Vesuvius was born. In blue. Puppy ran up again and stepped in the blue lava. His little white socks are now blue. I went over and told the neighbors that it was just food coloring so they wouldn't worry. They were mad. Said I should have moved the volcano to the backyard or waited until the puppy wasn't running around. I don't think it's my responsibility to make sure their puppy doesn't end up with blue paws. I mean, he's cute as hell and not a dangerous dog, but they still should probably keep him on a leash or something. I haven't seen him run out in the road, but he could, and that would be much worse than blue paws that won't stay blue permanently. So, am I the antagonist for not taking more care to keep the puppy out of our lava? Now for the top comments. NTA. If the puppy is running onto your property, then it's not your responsibility to make sure it stays away from your volcano. You have as much of a right to use your front yard as they do, and most places in the US at least have leash laws. They should kept a better watch on their pup. At least for the most part food coloring is harmless to dogs, and it will wash out in time. No harm no foul this time. But if the puppy runs out into the road or in a driveway of someone backing their car out, it'd be a totally different story. Hopefully they take better care of their little one before he gets hurt. This op is totally not the a-hole. Next time it might be much worse than blue paws. NTA. It's her responsibility to keep her dog on a leash or in her yard. Also, it's not like you hurt the dog. The coloring will come off. Am I the antagonist for causing a walkout on a 3-year-old's birthday party? Okay, this sounds bad, but hear me out. My 3-year-old was invited to her preschool classmate's birthday party at an indoor playground. We did arrive 10 late since we got lost trying to find the place, but we happened to arrive at the same time 2 other families, so it could have looked planned. The day boy's mom was clearly irritated because we missed a treasure hunt. There was no schedule given, so I didn't realize it would be a big of a deal if we were 10 minutes late, or I would rushed more. We all did make sure our kids wished the birthday boy happy birthday and passed him his presents, but they immediately ran towards the train ride once they were done. Turns out the mom wanted to organize a group photo shoot with the kids, so she was annoyed they ran off. The kids then could do whatever they liked for maybe 10, 15 minutes before we had to follow the itinerary we didn't realize we had. The kids had 2 group rides, which always came with a photo shoot before each ride. Then they were free to play for just another 5-10 minutes before they had to go for another photo shoot with the cake. Then the parents had to take photos. Our country still had indoor mask mandates, but we were told it's legal to have masks off for photos and were ordered to take off our masks. Then we had the cake cutting and another round of photos before food was served. It hasn't even been 2H and we've had 4 photo taking sessions, taking up almost an hour. My daughter didn't want to eat, and I could see she was losing it, especially since was a spread of beautifully decorated desserts that weren't offered to anyone at all. So I wouldn't let her touch them. I figured I should just leave before I ruin the party, since we already had 2 meltdowns in the last 10 minutes. But my daughter leaving triggered her 2 friends asking to leave, which triggered even more kids demanding to leave. The party ended up getting cut short by 30 minutes. The mom is obviously pissed with me, and I agree I did ruin the party, and I knew if my daughter leaves, there's a chance it trigger that snowball effect. And yes, I believe it's important not to expect society to cater to my child's whims, and it's my job as a parent to make sure she behaves. But I think she had been doing an amazing job not running off and doing her own thing. I found the entire party stressful and not fun at all, so I figured my kid probably feels the same. So am I one of those entitled moms here? Edit. Just to clarify some things, the mom isn't an influencer. She has Instagram, but it's private. My daughter didn't have a meltdown yet. It was 2 other kids. I didn't want her to be the 3-road, so I left. We did try to leave quietly, but my daughter's closest friend saw us and started yelling. I kind of expected it, since the girls are in this inseparable phase where they have to do everything together. Now for the top comments. It's unreasonable to ask 3-year-old children to have multiple photo shoots and follow schedule that doesn't allow them to play. They are 3, not the a-hole. The birthday kid's mom seems like a helicopter mom and needs to chill out. Also, what activity starts and ends within the first 10 minutes of a 3-year-old party? So strange. You also aren't responsible for other kids wanting to leave because yours does. That's on those parents. We are all trying to do the best we can, and sounds like that's what you did. Don't lose sleep over this one. Also, what activity starts and ends within the first 10 minutes of a 3-year-old party? So strange. Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought it was strange. Thanks to covered all the kids' parties I've gone to have been more intimate, informal gatherings. So I wasn't sure if it's normal to have such a packed schedule. NTA who structures a toddler's birthday party that much? They are little balls of randomness, and it's cruel to display food to them for hours without letting them eat something. That is more for the parents to have bragging rights about how nice the party was. They did serve the kids food and offered cupcakes and cake, but the fancy cookies on the dessert table wasn't an option. So there's the dessert for eating and dessert for display, but my daughter wanted the display dessert too. Am I the antagonist for telling just shut up and leave us alone to my stepmom? Dad, 52 male, married a young girl, 30, 2 years ago. I, 16F, have an elder brother, 27 male, a sister, 22F, and a younger half sibling, 1 male. My siblings and I are super close. Mom's not here anymore. My brother moved back home for a few months to save for a place. He and my stepmom don't get along really well because she has tried to boss him around and he just doesn't listen. She also doesn't like that he spoils me so much because that's not how my dad is raising me. My dad has told her to stay out of our relationship many times, but she doesn't listen. My brother and I have the kind of relationship and trust to always mess around, do pranks, fake wrestling and all of that. For some context, my brother is huge, but he has never hurt me before, and I don't think he ever will. I get that the way my brother and I talk of behave might look as disrespect to someone outside the relationship, but he's okay with this. My sister is just the same with him, and even our dad is aware of this, and respect that this is how my brother let us treat him. As I said, is just trust. However, my stepmom is super invasive, always telling me don't call him that, don't say that, That's not cool. That's hurtful. Say sorry and blah blah blah. Yesterday my brother was working in the kitchen while my stepmom made dinner and I just sneaked behind him and jumped on his back. As I said, my brother is huge. He lifts weights, so a 125-pound girl jumping on his back is no big deal. He took me by the arms and lightly twisted me to lock me in place and tell me to surrender. We were laughing, but my stepmom came to us and began telling him to let me go and that he was hurting me while trying to take his arm off me. I just sighed and said, just shut up and leave us alone. She looked surprised and just went to her room until dad came home. My brother didn't said anything, as if it didn't happen, and later on my dad came to my room to talk, but just said it wasn't cool how I expressed my feelings, but also didn't made a big fuss of it. However, she's now ignoring me. AITA, people are making a big deal out of the young girl thing. I met her when she was 24 and moved here when she was 26. For me, she was a young girl. Now for the top comments. NTA, your brother is 27 and his stepmother is 30. Sounds like she's trying really hard to come across as strict/authoritative. Sounds like the stepmom title is going to her head a bit. Cause I wouldn't think as a 30-year-old stepmom that I could control what a 27-year-old adult stepson could do. Not that it's really required, but did dad consider the ramifications of marrying someone roughly the same age as his kids? This shouldn't be an issue at all and should have never come up. Stepmom is overstepping, not the a-hole. This is why my dad set a hard limit on how young he would date. He got grossed out when the guys in his band were ogling my sisters. Stepmom needs to chill and back off. NTA.